So in order to demo this, I'm gonna present a scenario. This is a generic scenario, but this use case, these features, they can apply to all sorts of different industries and use cases. So this is not specific to what I'm pretending here. But let's say I'm a university and spring's coming up, graduation's coming up. I want to launch a form that can help friends and family register for the graduation event. At the same time, graduations are expensive. I'd like to charge a fee to admit friends and family to the event. I'd like this form to process payments. At the same time, it would be nice to be able to generate receipts and send them off to whoever is purchasing these tickets. And it would be really nice if I didn't have to worry about the actual physical tickets. Can I just generate some tickets for this event too? Well, with the payment connector and the document generation step, I can do all of this in one workflow in a couple steps. And I'll build this out piece by piece and show you how this all works. So I'm going to start with kind of a blank slate. This is a workflow, very simple workflow. I just have a form and a thank you page, redirect step, just a simple message here. The form itself is a registration form. It's asking for information about the graduate, information about the ticket, and you can purchase up to 6 tickets. And for each ticket, I want attendee information. What's the name of the attendee? And then an optional field for donation, university select donations. Do you want to donate? Yes, no, optional, put it in the amount. And then next steps would be click this button and then pay for the ticket. So back to the workflow. How do I go from this to the registration, receipt generation, ticket creation machine that I want it to become? Let's start with a payment connector. All right, to do that, we would add a step connector and select one of our workflow native payment connectors. We currently offer PayPal and Stripe. I'll show you Stripe today. It's pretty easy to demo, but this is very similar if I were to select PayPal. And one of the questions that I saw was about future connectors, future payment connectors. We do plan on bringing all of our form level connectors up to the workflow level. So authorize.net is the big one. You should see a workflow native authorize.net connector sometime this year. So let's select Stripe and authorize. I've previously entered these credentials before on another workflow, so I can easily select it here. We can authorize a sandbox account and a production account. This processes live payments, real money, just for testing. I'll use sandbox today. All right, and configuring a payment connector looks a little bit different than our other workflow native connectors. We see 2 sections here, a checkout section and a charges section. I'm going to add my line items in the charges section. And then in the checkout section, I'm going to add either data I want to send off to Stripe. So this will be written on the transaction record. So when I'm reviewing this transaction in Stripe, I can see additional information about where it came from. I could say, this came from FormAssembly. This was part of workflow response number ABCD123, and any other information I want to send to Stripe. Return variables is really cool. That allows me to pull data from that transaction and store in the workflow so I can use it in other workflow steps. And this Stripe connector works a little bit differently than our form level Stripe connector. For the workflow level Stripe connector, the respondent is going to be routed to a Stripe checkout page. Instead of FormAssembly gathering credit card details on our form, sending them off via REST to Stripe, we're going to actually send the respondent to Stripe for them to enter that information within a Stripe page, and then they're routed back to FormAssembly to complete the workflow. The main benefit of this is security. We don't have to pass off really sensitive payment information anymore. It's collected by Stripe within Stripe. We don't need to know about it on the FormAssembly side. We just need to know from Stripe, was the payment good? Great, let's continue the workflow. I'll show you what that looks like in practice, but it's pretty seamless. So let's configure the Stripe connector for our use case here. We want to charge for tickets for graduation. I would set the first action as set up one-time charge. This connector also supports recurring charges, subscription charges. Today we'll just focus on one-time charges. Automatically, I have a line item that was added to the configuration tab. And this is the actual product that I want to charge for. There are two types of products in the Stripe connector. An existing product is something that already exists in my Stripe catalog. A custom charge is something that I can create on the fly within this connector. So I'll show you existing product. I've already created the general admission ticket here, $15, and it's pulling that right from my Stripe account that I've authorized. All right, I want to add another line item. So I'll do a new action, add one-time charge line item, and this time I'll select custom charge. And this is how I'll support the donation, which is a variable amount. I don't have a product for that in my Stripe catalog because it's going to change from respondent to respondent. So I'm going to create a custom charge here, donation, friends and family, donation. I'll set the currency. I'll set the price to whatever my respondent wants to pay. So the price is going to equal the value of this field donation amount on the form. And then quantity, I'll just hard code that to 1 because it's just a single donation per form. All right, I think that's all I need out of this step. Yes, that is. So I have the line items configured. It's all green. That means it's configured. So I'll go up to the top to the checkout section. For the next step, for document generation, I'll need a couple pieces of information from this transaction. Primarily, I'll need the amount paid, and I also want the customer email address. But you can see I can store all sorts of information from this transaction, the payment ID, a URL to the Stripe transaction page in my account so I can quickly navigate to that transaction record. The status would be something like completed, the currency used, and some basic customer information like ID or email. That's the Stripe customer ID or email. But for this demo, I'll just use amount paid and email, and I'll store these as variables, which means these are just objects that I can refer to later in the workflow, which will represent whatever value comes from Stripe here. Okay, so that's pretty easy. I've configured my Stripe workflow connector. It should work end-to-end right now, but I will save the grand reveal until we've configured this full workflow. So now what's the next step of my workflow? I want to generate the receipt, and I want to generate the ticket for the event. I can do both of these in one step called the document step. This is our document generation step. This step works by using a template that you've created, and it'll look for these double curly brackets. That indicates to the workflow that this is where workflow data needs to go. So if I upload a template, it'll list out all of these double curly brackets, and I can map data to those locations. So I have created a template here. This is a 2-page docx document. The first page is a receipt. You see these curly brackets, and I have a value of what I'd like to go there, customer email here, the quantity of tickets, the donation amount, the total amount, and the next page is the actual ticket. We have graduate name, graduate degree, attendee name, and attendee email. And we see loop here. That's interesting. What does that mean? Loop ticket and end loop. This means that if there is a repeatable section, this piece will be repeated every time the respondent repeats the section. So like I showed you on the form, there could be multiple attendees, and I'd like information from each attendee using that repeatable section. If there are 3 attendees with information, then this will repeat 3 times and put all 3 attendees' names on the ticket. So that's kind of a cool support for repeatable sections here that I'll show off in a minute too. So let's use this template. I'll upload that to my configure tab. And it's reading the template, and now it's given me a list of all of the items with the double curly brackets here. So here's the first page, and here's the second page. So now all I need to do is map data to each of these fields. So customer email, I want to write that customer email value from Stripe. That is the Stripe customer email that they used on the checkout page. General admission quantity, I'm going to use the field, how many tickets, the cost for that ticket specifically. I have a hidden calculated field that is calculating just the cost of their tickets. I'm going to do that. The donation amount, I'm going to set to the field donation amount, and the total amount is coming from Stripe checkout. That is whatever they actually ended up paying through Stripe. All right, first page configuration done. And second page, this is the repeatable section here. So graduate name is going to be the same for every attendee. We're just going to use this field, graduate name. And the degree, another field here, degree level. The attendee name is, I'm going to set to full name. This is within the repeatable section attendee. So full name and attendee email, same story here within the repeatable section email address. So now to make sure that this section repeats for every repeatable section that's added to the form, I need to set this repeated content to attendees. So this means every time the attendees section's repeated, this section will be repeated. All right, configured, nice. So now what do I do? The respondent has completed the form, meaning they've registered for the event, they've paid for the event, we've generated the document, the receipt and the ticket. We need to get that back to the respondent now. So we can do this by creating an email step, and then we can tie this to the email entered in the form. But just for demo purposes, I'm going to email this to myself. And I'll set just a basic email content and then add attachment. I'm going to set that to the generated document step. All right, that's easy. That's configured. That email is going to go out. It would typically go out to whoever filled out this form. But for the demo, it's going to me. I'd like to do one more thing. I want to keep a record for whoever's registered and paid for the graduation event so I can prepare. I'm going to send this document to Dropbox. So I'm going to use the Dropbox connector, use my saved authorization. I'm going to send the generated document to my FormFest 26 folder. And that's all the configuration I need on that connector, just so that I have a full list of all of the registrants and the payments for this. So I've completed my configuration of this workflow end to end. We've got the form, Stripe connector, document generation step, email. We're going to save it to Dropbox, and then we're going to give the respondent a thank you page. And remember, the respondent journey is on our form, out to Stripe, back to FormAssembly. So let me show you what this looks like end to end. It's pretty cool. And just to make sure you know I'm not playing any tricks here, this is my FormFest 26 folder, nothing in it. So whatever we generate and land here will be live from this demo. Okay, let's view. here's our form. I'm going to select the number of tickets. Let's say we have 4 registrants, and then I'm going to set this repeatable to 4. I'm going to use a little cheat code button here. This will automatically populate the fields with data. So my graduate name, my friend that's graduating, is David. He's getting his doctoral degree. We want 4 tickets. And then the attendees are Jamal, Zephyr, Ifoma, Rana. And let's make a donation. Let's go big, $50 donation. All right, great. The form's done. Let's proceed to the payment connector. So I'm being routed to the Stripe checkout page, and this is exactly what it looks like. And this supports the payment methods that are configured on your Stripe account. So you see all sorts of payment methods here, and at the top, this is using the default payment methods as configured on your Stripe account. A big one we get asked about a lot is Apple Pay. Stripe does support Apple Pay. You have to use, I believe, a Safari browser to access Apple Pay on Stripe checkout pages, but that is an option. So if I wanted to limit the type of checkout available, I would update my Stripe account's payment configuration. All right, so this is a sandbox account, so I'm just going to enter fake card information. Okay, I'll pay. Now it's processing my payment. In the back end, it is generating the document now, and it is emailing the document, and it is uploading that document to Dropbox. And then in a moment, it's going to route me back to FormAssembly to the checkout page. Okay, great. So that email is sent. It'll take maybe a couple minutes for that actually to hit my inbox, but I can show you in my FormFest folder. There it is. It's already uploaded. This is what my document looks like. The first page has been populated with all the data that I needed. And here are the tickets. The repeatable section has repeated 4 times. So I've got everyone's tickets: David, Jamal, Zephyr, Ifoma, and Rana. Okay, great. So that worked as expected. Looking good. So that's just the beginning, but I'll leave you with that. From here, you can add a Salesforce connector or a HubSpot connector to get this data into those CRMs to store that data. You could additionally send these documents to Google Drive, to Box, to Microsoft SharePoint. You can, in the next month, you can embed this workflow and have the respondent complete the workflow end to end from a web page that you own. And you can set a custom URL on this workflow to make that branding experience even closer to your brand name. So there's a lot you can do from this foundation. I hope this inspires some ideas for everybody and shows the value of using these really cool payment connectors in tandem with document generation.